Now, the last time we had a Hassa alert, it was me who wound up. But so far, so good. We still have a winning record. Whenever the radar goes off and there's a Hassa in the air. And guess what? We got one this weekend. And we're going to take full advantage of it. We're going to exploit it. Especially because of all of this love, dare I say public love for this individual. But we have located a ball that won't fly straight, and we're going to take full advantage of it on the NFL Parlay of the Week. Yeah, I said that with a straight face. Hit the thumbs up button, please. If you haven't, subscribe, and it does us wonders, I promise. We're going to tell you all about DraftKings, the 5 for $200. That hasn't gone away by any means. We'll make you some money, easy money. But we got a Hassa to exploit. Now, let's head on over to DK. Right away, I mean, this is not even our parlay. This is the first leg, all right? Now, we build a teaser before we get out of here. Normally, we supersize shit and all. We're just going to build a teaser before we get out. But, you know, I want you to look at what we have created as the first leg of our baseline 3-leg parlay. Patriots win the game. Zach Wilson throws a pick. Mac Jones throws a touchdown. This is as simple as it gets. This is a very easy, basic game script for you out there, okay? And what's going on is the Patriots, like, they're laying 3. It's moved to 3.5. This opened at 3. It opened at the same number it was 3 weeks ago when the Jets lost at home with that same spread. They were getting 3 at home to the Patriots, and they lose. Patriots won a couple of games, give up 20 total points, and they're only laying 3 to open this thing up at home. There is a general belief. Why? Because that's a trap. You want to talk about what a trap is? Trap is the wrong word. It's bait. Let's sprinkle a little bait and see what happens. Oh, my God, the Jets. They've turned a page. Robert Saleh. You see that guy in the sidelines? That guy's business. Zach Wilson isn't that good. And he's not hurt anymore. We pushed that theory on the Odd Shop Fridays, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Odd Shopper channel. Set your alarm notification and all. Lofty, Rasa, and me. We talked to no, this is not that good. And he hasn't been that good. He's 0-3 straight up against the spread versus New England. And in those 3 games, he's barely completed 50% of his passes with a TD to pick ratio of 2-7. Hey, all the changes on offense, you know what hasn't changed? Bill Belichick on defense. All right, there's the Wilson interception that will clearly correlate with the Patriots winning the football game. And again, outright, money line, not covering any 3.5. Here's the thing. Mac Jones in those 3 games, a TD to interception ratio of 4-1. So we like Mac throwing a TD. We like Zach throwing an interception. It sounded better if I didn't screw it up, but who the hell knows? I screw a lot of shit up. It doesn't make any sense. Favored by 3 on the road and 1, favored by the same 3 when this thing opened up. New York, this is what I love. New York is 4-0 straight up against the spread on the road this year, Scherer. Did you know that? It's been over 10 years since they've won on the road in what? New England, yeah. Zach Wilson's going to screw this thing up way more than anything else. Yep. Ridiculous. Just getting a slack here from Ben Rosa about some more college action. That's our first leg here, all right? Let's keep it moving. I'm going to look at this game. You cannot play this. I cannot play this at 7, but I can play this at 3. And maybe even 3.5, depending on this. I just want you to see something. This is at -7 and -295. So we're trying to create something that offers us a good price in the middle of that number, if you will. We're not creating a middle. We're just trying to find a good price. 295. You know, beating the Colts by 4 on the road, I think, is a doable ask. And we still stay below 200. Because when you start to hit 216, you don't gain that significant of an advantage over the 295. Here, in this case, though, we're full over 100 points, and we're off a key number, but it's from the base of a spread being at 7. If this were at 3 and we moved it to 3.5, clearly there's a different scenario here. But we're at 7 and we're dropping it now to 3.5. Look, you better check this out. Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon, these guys are Frank Reich's friends before they're Jim Irsay's friends. They are Team Reich before they are Team Irsay. And if the Eagles have an opportunity, which I think they will, they're going to run this shit up right now. All right? So expect what you saw against that Lions team last year. Not to open up the season this year, I mean last year, where it's just up and down and up and down. And they were destroying a team physically. Expect that, and expect a message to be sent to the Colts. Bottom line. Bottom line. Speaking of bottom, and we're going to hit you with a teaser before we get out of here, but I just want to finish the final leg here. This is absurd. This is ridiculous.
All right. So I'm watching it now. What were they? Are they just taking the net down or something? Or do they take the stanchions down? I don't know. Yeah. That's funny. That's the one thing though, is Giannis is he's so nice most of the time that you're just how can you be mad? I like when he reads the dad jokes before his pressers. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday morning here. No snow where I am, no snow where Adam's in. Producer Mike, snow's about as tall as he is, almost 5 feet there. That's going to be fun for him. He's snowed in for days, potentially weeks. We may have to send dog sleds, Uber Eats dog sleds to his house at some point here. But Adam, how you doing? I watched the Wizards game last night. Son of a bitch, they almost lost that one. Or let me rephrase that. They almost won. They barely won. I don't know. That was just a disaster. Miami owned them for 98% of the game there.
Yeah, much closer game than that should have been. But yeah, last night was interesting. We got our first slate with 7 players of the season. Normally that waits until April. So that was a good time. Didn't really go well for me. I had one lineup, ended up pulling away and doing decent, 13th in the $15, 10th in the $4. But other than that, most of my lineup sucked. So on to today.
Yep, that's kind of what happened to me last night. It was a marginal NBA evening. The sports wagers didn't quite work. The parlays didn't quite work. And the the PrizePicks didn't quite work because they did a 6-legger. That's their new flex feature. They're sponsoring today's show, but they did a 6-leg flex parlay. If you get all 6 legs right, you get 25x. It was their inaugural debut of that, so they gave you a risk-free $20 wager. So I got $20 back. I think I hit 2 out of 6 or 3 out of 6. It was not a good showing, but we're back at the drawing board today. We've got quite a few teams on back-to-backs here for just 4 games. Tonight we do have a fair amount of injury information. There's a 6 o'clock game We're not going to cover that. That's not on the main slates, but there's a 7 to 7:30, a 10, and a 10:30 tonight. It's a doubleheader night on NBA TV. So that's kind of why we have the break point there. And then, of course, lots of college football. So all sorts of good stuff going on today. We're going to be promptly out of here before the top of the hour because we need to make way for Ben, Raza, and Matt Kajeski, who will be breaking down college football live before lock, heading up to the noon kickoffs here. Adam, any craziness from last night that you want to point out that's going to carry over today, aside from Halliburton being dinged up, Tyrese Maxey potentially missing the next 2 weeks? Was there any other pending news or any implications from last night?
I mean, the Maxey thing for sure. Like, we pretty much know he's not going to play today. I didn't follow anything too closely last night. I know that it seemed like every good guard got hurt at the end of their game. You know, Maxey was in the first half, but then Morant went to the locker room with like 2 minutes left. Halliburton got hurt, I think. Yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't paying a ton of attention, but I do know for sure that Philadelphia is going to give us some value today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's break this down.
Also, shout out to Josh, who finished like 40th on FanDuel with Tyrese Maxey last night.
Oh, what could have been? What could have been? Let's see. Oh, speaking of shout out to my mom. It's her birthday today.
No, happy birthday, Ms. EMac.
Very, very fun. Very fun. All right. So Mama Mac, have a good one. I will call you after the show because she's on the West Coast. So it's a little early still. We've got Orlando at Indiana. We know that this is a back-to-back for Orlando here, as well as Indiana. Last night, Orlando beat the Bulls 108 to 107 in Chicago. This is also a 3-4 for them. Cole Anthony out, Paolo Banchero still out, back-to-back. So Gary Harris probably going to sit. He did play last night after missing a bunch of time. We could potentially see Moritz Wagner return, or I think debut. I don't think he's played yet this season. Last night, Wendell Carter Jr. played 34 minutes. Suggs played 34. Franz Wagner played 33, and Bol played 31. So nobody was really run into the ground, and there was no way that Wendell Carter Jr. was going to lose to the team that gave up on him. What do you like here from Orlando today?
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to depend on what we end up getting injury news wise, but assuming that we're getting pretty much what we have been getting, just with like Gary Harris not playing, who really cares? He played 24 minutes, but like those minutes are just going to end up going to some combination of Kevon Harris, Caleb Houston, stuff that doesn't matter for DFS. It's kind of just status quo. Like, the prices have adjusted here. With no Paolo Banchero on the floor, you do get a little bit more, at least opportunities, if not production, from guys like Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Chuma Okeke playing around 32 minutes as a starter. He's 5,200. Bol's playing time is sort of all over the place. Played 30 minutes yesterday. Assuming that Carter is in today, I have a hard time projecting Bol for more than 30. Even with Banchero out, you've sort of seen that playing time go from anywhere from like 25 to 30 minutes. Mo Bamba remains in the rotation. He played another 24 minutes yesterday. So as long as Wendell Carter Jr. ends up playing, my interest in Bol is kind of tempered, just because the playing time hasn't taken that much of a step forward with Banchero out. If Carter were to rest on the second half of the back-to-back, then both of Bol and Bamba look a lot better. But assuming those guys are in, this to me is just sort of a team where there's not necessarily one guy that stands out. We have Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs pulling the most ownership, and I get it, but also I think they're pretty much correctly priced. Carter, Bol, Okeke all pulling around 15% as well. Yeah, they kind of just like one of those teams where I'm going to be getting to them because it's a 4-game slate. They're in a good enough matchup. They're good enough players, but I also think the salaries have adjusted to where there's not one specific guy that really stands out to me.
All right. Just looking for some news and notes here on Wendell Carter. I see Stephen Leibowitz in chat chiming in that Carter said he intends to play. That's what I've seen as well. He only missed the 16th. That's the only game he's missed this season. He tends to play between 30 and 35 minutes per game. So he was nestled right in there last night with 34. So as long as nothing untoward happened to his foot or no re-aggravation of that issue, he should be good to go tonight.
And as far as rates without Banchero this year, kind of why I said it the way I did, where like Franz Wagner is getting a lot more opportunities. He has a 28.5% usage rate, 25% assist percentage. The issue is he's still averaging 1 fantasy point per minute. So the ownership coming into Wagner is sort of interesting to me because at 6,800, with a nearly 30% usage rate and a 25% assist percentage, you look at the rates and it's like, oh, like that's a really, really good play. But you look at the production over over 215 minutes, and it's just like, all right, well, he's going to play 34, 35 minutes at a fantasy point per minute. That's not great for a 30-something% owned, nearly 7K guy. So the opportunity is certainly there, but if the whole field's going to be there, I probably just will play less. Jalen Suggs has played 140 minutes now, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute without Banchero, 24% usage rate. Does have a 30% assist percentage. That's good to see as well. Bol at 1.07. Wendell Carter's at 1.17. Okiki's at 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute.
All right. See, I see we're bringing out the regulars. Your favorite Sean B is here. We've also got T McBee. Bro in chat says 4-game slate with 100K up top. Thank you, Jesus. Look
Sean
at
B
that.
Can stay, but can we get Terry and Peter out of here, please?
There we go. It's a Bizarro day today. You got the Mega 8s over there on DK. That's about a third of the way full. If you're feeling frisky, $888 for entries into that one. Of course, it is 100K up top, and then the $15 also has 100K up top. That's 130,000 of the prize pool is going to first and second. Yikes! 10th place is a literal set of steak knives. Moving on to
I saw that movie, like, I guess it was probably like a year ago or so now, but finally
Glenn Ross,
and like so much made I was like, oh, that's where that came from.
Yeah, that Alec Baldwin scene is just is phenomenal. It's there are so many good one-off scenes in that movie. The scene where they're at the what is it, like the Chinese restaurant, and the guy's trying to sell close the deal, and somebody screws it up, and stealing of stuff, and the sad story of Jack Lemmon's forget if it's wife or daughter. There's just a lot going on in that movie.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of it because my movie recall sucks, but I do remember watching and being like, oh, Blender didn't make that up. Yeah,
or the guy holds out the brass balls as well. That scene is pretty amazing. And then there was sort of an homage to it in Boiler Room, if you ever saw that movie with what's his name, Affleck. In that one. So, anyway, I look at that. Talking movies with Adam, a rarity on this show.
Yeah, I made a movie reference on a show the other day too. I don't know what's happening.
Oh boy, it's a whole new you.
I said that the picture that we use of Eric Lindquist on the like promos reminds me of the brother from the Vince Vaughn Jennifer Aniston movie.
Oh, okay,
like 2008.
That's nice.
Or,
look at that
flamboyant brother.
It's a bizarro world here.
That one,
bizarro world. All right, back to more familiar things. The Indiana Pacers here, as we mentioned, they are on a back-to-back. This is also a 3 and 4. Oh, if you look on chat right now, we've got the Eric Lindquist picture up. Yeah. So, or on the YouTube channel.
And the Breakup's the movie. I just keep blanking on that.
There you go. Oh, geez. Nice. Very, very nice, Lindy. We'll send him screenshots of that. That'll be fun. Hopefully he makes it safely back from Paris soon. Back to Indiana, back-to-back, 3 and 4. They beat the Rockets last night in Houston, 99-91. As we mentioned, Tyrese Halliburton is going to be questionable with a leg issue. He did play 36 minutes last night. Hield played 33. Nobody went over that. Let's just assume Halliburton's in. How would you like to break this down? Because we're not going to know until closer to lock. So,
yeah, I mean, assuming he's in, then I think it's just more of what we've seen from Indiana. There is some pretty favorable pricing here. Halliburton himself, $9K, so a couple $100 less expensive than yesterday. He's just really good. I think that goes without saying. Ideally, he would play a couple more minutes than he does, but still, he played 36.5 yesterday. I think typically you can count on him to play 33 or 34. If he plays more, it's, a pleasant surprise. But he's, been really good this year. Yesterday accepted. He was pretty mediocre, but he's going to look good at 9K. Pretty nice matchup here against Orlando as well. Jalen Smith pulling 30% ownership at 4,800. He's another one where he's extremely volatile. I love rostering this guy when he's not popular, and I hate rostering him when he is. But he's also just at a price point where it's really difficult to ignore him because there's a lot of volatility there. One, his production can sort of come and go. Playing alongside Miles Turner hasn't been great for his fantasy production. Obviously, when you're playing with Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton, usage is going to come and go. But overall, he's about a fantasy point per minute player. And then we've also seen games this year where he gets in heavy foul trouble. We've seen games where he just inexplicably plays 18 minutes. But over his last 10, he's also averaging around 25 and a half, 26 minutes per game. If you kind of just take a step back and say like, all right, well, I have this guy in a good matchup that averages a fantasy point per minute and 26 minutes per game, and he's 4,800. He's clearly a good play. You just realize that there's some downside risk, but there's also a really high ceiling for him, as we saw last night. So him and Halliburton are the two that really stand out here. I think Miles Turner, once again, looks very good at 7,300. He's been a high usage guy this year, averaging 1.3 DraftKings points per minute with a 23.9% usage rate. Also has a 17.6% rebounding percentage, so that's been really good to see. I like going back to him. I like getting to Buddy Hield, who's averaging over a fantasy point per minute this year. If you want to take some shots at a 4K Isaiah Jackson, I think that's fine. I just wouldn't do it in the same lineups as Miles Turner. Basically, we've been seeing Isaiah Jackson in the just backup center role where if Turner's not on the floor, Jackson typically is. So he has a nice ceiling, but also you're getting 17% ownership coming there. So not sure how much of an advantage there is in going to him.
All right. I see. Oh, now it's scrolled past. Mark Curry said, curious to see if Turner sits out tonight. This will just be the second back-to-back we've seen him have a chance to play in. He did not play in the first one that was back in October 29th, 28th and 29th. That would have been his third game from returning from injury after he twisted his ankle when he had that stepped on the ball of his foot at the beginning of the season. I suspect we'll see him go tonight. He only played 26 minutes last night. He's kind of, he's hardly crested over 30 minutes most of the time, a little bit due to foul trouble, probably a little bit due to that's just kind of what his minutes are going to be at this point in time.
There's some potential value here too if other stuff doesn't open up. Nembhard's projected for 20% ownership. McConnell's projected for 15. Like that's a lot of ownership to those two guys, but also they are inexpensive. You know, Nembhard was in some foul trouble yesterday, but typically you're getting mid to upper 20s from him when he starts. McConnell, you know, just running back up behind Tyrese Halliburton, but also playing a few minutes alongside of him. There's probably just going to be better spots to get to. And then Bennett Mathurin did play 29 minutes yesterday. If Halliburton misses this game, he's going to look really good, I would think. Whether or not he starts, you're just going to get more playing time and, you know, probably even more usage for him. But either way, he's somebody you can take a shot on in tournaments. I just don't really love that he's already pulling 16% ownership.
Yeah, so Mathurin, I agree. He would be probably at least field goal attempt wise the best beneficiary there if Halliburton's out. Do you have a preference between Nembhard and McConnell if Halliburton's out, or are they both just moved in as solid point per dollar options?
If Halliburton's out, give me McConnell because he's just going to step into a lot of minutes, or I would think he steps into a lot of minutes. Nembhard is, I think, sort of just if Halliburton's in, I prefer Nembhard. I just think, you know, the minutes are there. They've been similar fantasy producers this year. Nembhard's at 0.82 DraftKings points per minute. McConnell's at 0.85. So I would just take the, 26 to 28 minutes from Nembhard as opposed to the 16 from McConnell. But if Halliburton's out, especially if McConnell's starting, there's just a chance that he's going to run into 30 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looks like Jalen Smith is the best point per dollar option at this via our first projection run there for Indiana. On the other side, on DK, it's going to be kind of a toss-up between Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs. If we go over here and look at FanDuel, it is going to be Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner. Most everybody, they're the best four players on each team are going to get some ownership. It's the function of just 8 teams in our player pool tonight. But again, things can turn wildly depending on what Halliburton's status is. Let's move on to our second game here. We've got Minnesota at Philadelphia. Let's look at some notes here. Minnesota's last game was on Wednesday. They do not play again until Monday when they're at home against Miami. Philly on the back-to-back beat the Bucks in Milwaukee last night, a 110-102. Tyrese Maxey is out. He's likely to miss the next 2 weeks with the foot injury. James Harden, of course, still out. Tobias Harris did not play last night with a hip issue. He is questionable. DeAnthony Melton played 36 minutes last night, but he's been dealing with the sore back. Hopefully he plays tonight. Embiid played 37 minutes last night. And then rounding out the heavy minutes crew, you've got PJ Tucker at 32, Daniel House Jr. at 31, and George Niang at 30. Take us through the Minnesota side. They're actually favored by 2 in the early lines.
Yeah, hopefully they get there because I need them to win more than like 46 games this year. But
wait, was this was your online bet, right?
Yeah,
your
I bet with Big T.
Twitter bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
What do
remember if
you
I have over
lose?
45 and a half or 46 and a half, but
Is
yeah.
this pride or is this
No,
you're doing bench
I bet
press or something?
I bet Big T 1,000 that the Wolves would go over.
Oh, you do the old fashioned way, just harder and cash on the barrelhead. I like that.
Yeah. He backed me into it because I said something positive about the Timberwolves, and then even though I didn't really want to take the bet, I just couldn't not take it.
Yes, sometimes you got to. But see, then now if you lose, people are coming after you for head to heads in DFS. So this is like a win-win for you. It's just marketing at this point, Adam.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the Minnesota side goes, it's sort of what we've been saying about them for a while. The difference, though, is that it's only a 4-game slate. So instead of it being a situation where it's just like, oh, well, none of the Minnesota guys really look that good, but you can play them individually in tournaments because they all have high ceilings. Now it's like, well, they're all just getting 20 to 30% ownership, and it's really difficult to differentiate between them. But I think that they should be popular. Like, you're getting them against a injured Philadelphia team, have a 111 implied total for Minnesota, and the prices have just come down to where there's like a lot of upside here. You have Gobert at 6,600, averaging 32 to 33 minutes per game. If he can avoid foul trouble, I would expect that he's out there potentially even more today, going up against Embiid. So that's a really favorable price tag for him. He's averaging about 1.1 DraftKings points per minute this year. Towns at 1.25 DraftKings points per minute. You can expect around 35 minutes from him. He's only 8,700. Edwards 7,400. Russell 61. Like, all of those guys just give you pretty obvious upside. Russell's at 1 fantasy point per minute. So is Edwards. Edwards playing several minutes more per game. So it's really difficult to say, oh, I think this is a Karl Anthony Towns game, or I think this is an Edwards game, or whatever. But there's a really good chance that at least one of these Minnesota guys is outperforming their pretty inexpensive salary.
Yeah, 2 games ago, D'Angelo Russell, out of nowhere, I had besmirched his good name, and he ended up putting 30 points and 12 assists there. This one's
his playing time has been trending up a little bit too.
It has. The one nice thing about Gobert joining Karl Anthony Towns is power forward now. So that gives us additional flexibility, which is rather helpful. We're looking on DK here. Towns, Gobert, Edwards, each coming in between 20 and 30%. If we flip it over to, or actually, let's go down here. Look, some of the secondary plays here, and then there'll be a lot to talk about here with Philadelphia. But would you be giving much, assuming we don't get any breaking value, where does Kyle Anderson, Jalen McDaniels, et cetera, stand?
Just sort of guys. Like, if they land in your lineup, that's fine. You can expect around 20 minutes from Kyle Anderson. He's 3,900. He's averaged 0.9 DraftKings points per minute this season. If somebody ahead of him gets in foul trouble, he maybe plays more. But he's just one of those value options where, I think that if anything else opens up, he's just going to disappear really quickly. I will say that I don't think he should be getting like half the ownership of Nembhard, for example, or like a lot less ownership than TJ McConnell. I kind of think he's in that same category with those guys. Nembhard's better, but I think he's probably just getting a little bit more ownership than he should relative to Anderson. Same goes with Jaden McDaniels at 4,700. You can expect him to play 30-ish minutes. He's a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy, kind of just correctly priced there.
All right, heading over to Philadelphia. We give a little shout out. I see some more regulars coming in chat here. Hannah Banana. We've got Kickstart. Kyle B's in there. Curtis, aka Go Blue, says shake, 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 shake your Milton. Look at that. Milton coming in at 3,600 on FanDuel. He is 3,100 on DK, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Is he our punt du jour, Adam?
Yeah, I think so. We haven't really gotten an opportunity to play him yet this year, but they are really shorthanded now. So I expect him to step into a bigger role, and certainly a role big enough that I want to roster him at $3,100. We don't have much of a sample size this year without Maxey or Harden on the floor. Maxey just plays so many minutes, but Milton overall has always been a decent fantasy producer. He's played 125 minutes this year, only 0.64 DraftKings points per minute. But going from memory, he's been like a 0.8 to 0.85 guy in the past. Going back to the start of last year now, just waiting for it to load. But at 3,100, with Maxey out, I don't really see how Milton isn't one of the best point per dollar values.
Yeah, it's. I think we'll see his popularity crest upwards. Right now, we just have him at 40% on FanDuel. He's actually below DeAnthony Melton. That's probably a slight function of Melton being eligible at both guard spots, but I expect that to get that gap to close quite a bit here. This, of course, is enabling us to get to all of the Joel Embiid that we would like to see. Currently, we are projecting him for a healthy 60 fantasy points today. That is a lofty total, Adam. You feeling higher or lower? Just eyeballing it from the jump. I know you haven't done all your projections yet, but you feeling higher or lower than 60?
My initial take is higher. So I going back to the start of last year, just to finish up on Milton, 0.77 DraftKings points per minute overall. If you take Tyrese Maxey and James Harden off the floor, he jumps to 0.91. The thing you have to keep in mind there, though, is that a large section of those minutes, if Maxey is off and Harden's off, is Embiid also probably being off. But you're kind of, if you tell me somebody's going to average around 0.75 fantasy points per minute and he's $3,100, filling in for somebody that plays 38 minutes. Not that I think Milton's going to play 38, but it's just kind of an easy play. But Embiid without Maxey or Harden since the start of last year, 452 minutes, 39.7% usage rate, and a 31.2% assist percentage, 1.64 DraftKings points per minute, probably giving you 35, 36 minutes, barring foul trouble, injury, blowout. He just looks absolutely fantastic.
50-50 that Harris plays, or better odds than that?
Feels 50-50 to me.
All right.
And if he does, he's going to look pretty decent. He's really taken a step back this year in terms of usage with Tyrese Maxey stepping up and doing even more. But, taking Maxey off and taking Harden off since last year, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute with a 23.5% usage rate for Harris. If he is good to go, I think you see him step into the role we're more accustomed to going back to previous seasons.
If Harris is out, are these minutes just going to be shared by Yang, House, Thibault, most likely? Maybe a little Harrell?
That's my assumption. So we got Daniel House in the starting lineup yesterday. He did play 30.5 minutes. Matisse Thibault only played 4 off the bench. Niang played 30 and closed that game. I don't necessarily think that you get no minutes from Thibault again, or virtually no minutes, but we did sort of see the blueprint yesterday where, House and Niang were the priorities. And I think that makes sense. Niang was pretty much certainly going to get extra minutes. It was just a question of, do they go Daniel House or Matisse Thybulle for defensive reasons? House ended up being the guy that they went to there. So if he is out, Daniel House at 3,100, if he's starting, is going to be a pretty obvious value. Niang's salary dropped a little bit to 3,900. He's going to look decent as well if Harris is out.
All right, 300 people watching here, 72 likes. Let's get it up to 100 there for Adam coming to work here on a Saturday. He's especially thrilled because he gets to do this is the third Saturday in a row he's done a show with me. I believe you'll be cycling back with someone else. I've got some vacation coming up, Adam, going out of the great state of Virginia for a couple weeks. So
going to Paris for a month also?
No, Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And other West Coast locations. So why not?
Sounds better to me, honestly.
Yeah, the Paris of the Pacific, shall we say? but yeah, so we've got that excitement coming up for me. But please do hit that like button; it does help us out. You guys, reminder that we are running a bunch of shows today. Coming up after us, promptly at 11, you're going to get College Football Live Before Lock with Matt Kajeski and Ben Raza. After that, you're going to get the NFL Strategy Show that is going to have Greg Ehrenberg and Neil Orfield. Of course, we will have MMA Live Before Lock with Jason Floyd and Pete the Heat Rogers. All sorts of content coming on today. And then, of course, the deeper dive in NBA Live Before Lock for tonight. We have a whole bunch of videos on demand as well. We also have On the Contrary, which was recorded yesterday. So you can check that out on the YouTube channel, Twitch, or, of course, the podcast feeds that we have here for Stokastic. One other thing I'm going to tell you, not only can you get one, but you can get 2 free months of Stokastic premium content. That's right, 2 free months. This deal is not going to last forever, but if you go to BetMGM, going through the link below us here, all you got to do is have 1, a Stokastic account, and then 2, when you sign up at BetMGM, if you come in through our link here, you can do that by clicking on any of the BetMGM buttons that appear throughout the Stokastic site. You make your first wager, needs to be at least $10, but once it settles, win or lose, you're going to get 2 free months of Stokastic Platinum. That's pretty awesome. So again, you just got to click on the link in the description here. That'll tell you how to do everything. But basically, you just need to have a Stokastic account and then click on an MGM button when you are logged in, and then make your deposit, at least $10. Make your first bet. Once it settles, you'll get 2 free months. Oh, by the way, there's more. Your first bet can also be a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right, up to $1,000. It's a pretty good deal here. Adam's going to have to learn all about this because Maryland coming online for sports gambling very, very soon. I heard a bunch of ads last night when I was watching the NBA games that it's coming soon. Adam, do we have an actual date there for
November
Maryland?
23rd.
Oh, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's next week.
I may have to go drive across that little creek they call the Potomac River and sign up for some new accounts because you get the deals wherever you are when you log in typically. And I have not signed up for all the sports books yet, so I'll have to keep my eye on that. Find out if there's a good 2 or 3, and I'll make the 30-minute drive up past Point of Rocks there onto the Maryland side of the border. All righty, let's see. Anything else from the first 2 games that you want to cover before we head off to the 10 o'clock games?
You kind of mentioned the ownership coming into him, but DeAnthony Melton's going to look better here too, assuming he's good to go. 5,900, should play a ton of minutes. We've seen his production really take a hit playing alongside Embiid and Maxey, but we know that Melton is close to a fantasy point per minute guy, throughout most of his career, and Maxey's been like a 27% usage guy in these minutes without Harden. So that's a lot of usage opening up. And with Embiid already taking, 38% of it, give or take, not that much more can go to Embiid. Like a good amount of this needs to go to DeAnthony Melton. So I do think he's going to end up looking like a good value as well.
All righty, heading off to the second half of our slate. We have the Utah Jazz underdogs by 4 points going into Portland, taking on the Blazers. 227.5 implied point total on this one. That is tied for the best of the night there with the Orlando Magic and Pacers. You've got the Jazz coming in on a back-to-back here. They beat Phoenix in Salt Lake City last night, 134-133. Yes, there was no Chris Paul, but I was not expecting that outcome. Markkanen played 35 minutes, Clarkson and Beasley 31 each, and then Conley played 30. We have seen Conley play on back-to-backs this season. Remains to be seen if he'll play tonight, but that is a possibility. For Portland, this is an island game. The only injuries they have at this point in time are Keon Johnson out with a hip. Could be out for another couple games, and then Nasir Little is questionable with a calf injury. Talk to me about the Utah Jazz here, Adam. They have been quite the surprise thus far this season.
Yeah, and they look good again today. The negative for Utah is that their starters just don't play as many minutes as you would really like. You mentioned Markkanen played 35 yesterday. He's averaging around 33 per game. That's fine. But like Conley and Clarkson average 30 to 31 minutes. Vanderbilt averages about 25 minutes. Olynyk averages like 26 or 27 minutes. So that's not ideal, but the pricing accounts for it. Like Mike Conley's only 5,700, Olynyk only 4,900. Does only have center eligibility on DraftKings, which kind of sucks. But Jared Vanderbilt, is cheap at 5,200. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. You just need him to run into more minutes. The issue for him is that 1, he fouls a lot, and then 2, if Utah is losing or in a competitive game, it's tough for him to be in the closing lineup because he's much more of a defensive presence than an offensive presence. But, he is a good point per minute guy. You have Beasley, who's been playing more. He's 4,300. He closed again last night. We had seen for a nice stretch of games where Colin Sexton was always closing. That hasn't been the case anymore. It's turned into Malik Beasley. So, for now at least, I do think there's still some value on Beasley at 4,300. Similarly, Sexton's only getting 2% ownership. Based on their recent games, I don't think you can go to him with much confidence unless Conley were to sit. But it is a 4-game slate. Sexton is a good point per minute guy. If he's playing well, maybe you see him, steal back those minutes in this one particular game. So there is at least some, tournament upside, tournament interest there. But certainly, I think based on recent rotations, you have to say he's riskier than Beasley, just because we've consistently at this point seen Beasley finding his way into those closing lineups.
I'm pulling up Conley here just because I wanted to see the different back-to-back situations he has had. He has only missed one back-to-back so far. That was the only game he has not played in his first one, the 23rd and 24th of October. He played 36 and then 27 minutes. Then that was the 28th and 29th where he sat out on the 29th. The next back-to-back was November 6th and 7th, 33 and 24 minutes. And then again on November 12th, 29 and 31 minutes. And then last night he played 30 minutes. So if he plays, it's reasonable that he'll play in the upper 20s for this one. At some point, they'll probably trade him to a contender would be the guess. But they're keeping, I would say, semi-monitoring his minutes, but showing that he is healthy. So pumping up any value they can get for what? A second-round pick swap or something of that nature in the trade market. But we'll have to see if he's in tonight. But I would say odds are he will be. If you guys are not members of Stokastic, I just told you how you can get 2 free months of Stokastic. Heck, even if you're in a state that doesn't have sports wagering, when you're visiting another state that does, sign up through the BetMGM link or some of the others. You can get those 2 free months from us. So that's a nice little tidbit there to help you out. But if you're not a member in the Discord and getting all the up-to-minute breaking news, you can always follow Stokastic NBA on Twitter. Well, as long as Twitter is alive, you could follow Stokastic NBA on Twitter for any breaking updates as well. Of course, you won't get all the analysis that you do in the Discord when that stuff happens, but that's an easier way to look at things tonight because people are going to get distracted with it. 2.5 hours between games here. We've got some marquee matchup college football games tonight. You don't want to miss out on any of the breaking news, especially for someone like Conley. Anything else from the Utah side you would like to address?
Nothing specific, I don't think. Just sort of another team where everybody looks pretty good. And yeah, if Conley were to sit, then Colin Sexton's going to look fantastic.
Yeah, actually, that's a good call. So Colin Sexton in his last few games, he's kind of in that low 20s minutes range. We have seen him get as high as 31, 29, 27, 28. His last 5 have been lower than that, but he's coming back from a devastating knee injury, so no need to rush him along. But he is someone that would probably see his minutes move up from about low 20s to upper 20s if he gets that opportunity. That would also be probably another tick there for Talen Horton-Tucker as well as Malik Beasley. Jordan Clarkson, always interesting. I never know what to do with him for sure. He can be completely infuriating, very points dependent on his fantasy production, but he is someone that on a shorter player pool like we have tonight, we will have to consider, even though it has been 4 games since he got over the 30 fantasy point mark. Portland, let's see. We got Nurkic is back from his latest injury. He played 15 minutes in his first game back. In the last game 2 days ago, he played 25 minutes. I'm guessing we see something in the 28-minute range tonight, which is kind of around his baseline. If it's close game or they need him, he'll go up to around 32 at this point in the season. But I think there's probably a soft 30-minute cap on here, but I'm figuring him for about 28 tonight. How are you feeling about Nurkic? And then branch out to the rest of the Blazers.
Yeah, so I mean, with Nurkic, the issue is that when this team is healthy, they prefer closing with Justice Winslow, or at least pretty frequently they will. So that kind of limits his minutes somewhat. He's averaging around 28 or 29 minutes per game. I think that's a reasonable projection, but a lot of those games you've had somebody out for Portland, and so Winslow is soaking up those other minutes. I'll probably end up going around 26 on Nurkic here. He's a good point per minute fantasy guy, and it's certainly not a bad spot here against Utah. But the downside too, like when you think about the potential closing lineup here, there's a real chance that you're just getting a Utah closing lineup where instead of Vanderbilt you have Beasley. So you're saying like Conley, Clarkson, Beasley, Markkanen, Olynyk. Like Nurkic probably isn't on the floor for that. So it's tough for me to want to go any higher than like 26 on him. He can certainly still have a big game in 26 minutes. He's not getting much ownership. So, kind of interesting there. But in general, I think this Portland team is really interesting just because this is the first team we've gotten to where there's not much ownership coming into anything. Josh Hart is projected to be the highest owned guy at 10%. Damian Lillard, 8%, $10,100 price tag. There's not a ton of value right now. That's, reflected by the fact that guys like Nembhard and McConnell are getting ownership. But there is still some value, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to get to Lillard at 10-1. Simon's sitting at 7K, looks pretty nice as well. So I kind of like getting to this Portland side just from a tournament standpoint.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you mentioned that the ownership is so low. Everybody's relatively favorable or appropriately priced. They're not the best point per dollars, but this is a decent matchup, a little more up-tempo game. Any one of those guys could go off. On the FanDuel side, we do see a little bit more popularity going. Josh Hart's up to 25%. Damian Lillard is at 23%, but nobody really cresting over 4.5 fantasy points per 1,000. Nurkic a little bit, but tougher to get to him on FanDuel, where we can only play one center, and then who is the other player? Josh Hart, and then he's available at shooting guard and small forward, so he qualifies for 4 spots.
And also, for anybody that's into narrative streets, if Damian Lillard had any sort of a decent game the other day, I would have made a lot more money than I did. So you're probably getting a solid 75 from him today.
This is the Adam narrative.
Yep, it's been pretty solid so far this year.
Just gonna look and see, since we're cruising down narrative street here. Do we have any birthdays today? No, we don't. Tobias Bailey doesn't really count. That's it. Nothing exciting. Zach Collins, but he's out, so I don't get to count that one. I should have completed my thought there on Twitter. I don't think Twitter goes away. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a break in service at some point, or the system goes down for a little bit just because of the change in employee bandwidth, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's too valuable of a commodity. It's fun to watch it burn a little bit, I guess, but that would be horrible if we didn't have it. I think it's a very useful service for a lot of people to have. Sometimes it's used for good, sometimes it's used for evil, but I don't know what would replace it at this point.
I just need NBA news from somewhere other than that.
Yes. I'm curious to see how that part would work. Because it's not so much like if we knew where the news was, I mean, I guess we would just be searching aggregator sites like Roto World or what have you.
Right. Like what would happen is they would find some way to still get in touch with like
the beats,
and then they would just have like a Discord, is my assumption.
Yeah. That I would figure as well. It wouldn't be quite as instantaneous, but we'd probably know within five to 10
I mean,
minutes.
The thing that would concern me is the beat writers are already shaky as is. Not having instant access to them is going to be difficult. But
you know what was the worst beat writing stuff ever? And you're not going to care about this, but the hockey bubble. No, the hockey bubble, where like nobody could see anything. There was no information whatsoever, and the beats were like not putting out line rush information or goalie information. It was just like,
so basically they were all just acting like the Coyotes beat writer.
Pretty much. Yes. So you are aware of those things. Yes. But it was the entire league at that point. So it's annoying. Don't get me started on hockey reporting. Upper body injury, lower body injury. Who was the first? So-and-so led the team off the ice. Oh, that means they're starting in goal tonight.
I mean, college football is just we had it the other day with like one of the most popular teams on the slate. There's several guys on the team with the flu. We don't really know who they are, and we're not going to find out.
Yeah, so it was like wasn't it the number one running back, two of the better receivers? Yeah, it was a disaster. Still cashing with zeros. This was like old school DFS, right? Boy, good times. But stay tuned. We are 18 minutes away from college football live before lock with Matt Kajeski and Ben Rasa, getting you all of the fun and information you need to have success in college football. One more game to go here, and now my filter is not working. Let's get back over there. San Antonio here. San Antonio, we've got them playing tomorrow against the Lakers, so they are staying in Los Angeles. Romeo Langford is in the health and safety protocol. Jakob Poeltl is questionable with the knee. Devin Vassell questionable with an ankle. Keldon Johnson, probable with an ankle after surprising everybody as being a late sit, not really a scratch, but more of a sit, scratched after lock, but moved out of the starting lineup prior to lock in that late slate on Thursday. The Clippers, island game for them. Only player missing is Luke Kennard. What do you got for us with the San Antonio Spurs, Adam?
The only guy pulling ownership here is Devin Vassell, and he absolutely should be. I don't know how you possibly get a $6,200 price tag on this guy, but DraftKings managed to do it. So he's pulling 19% ownership. He's averaging 33 minutes, give or take, per game. He's about a 1.1 DraftKings point per minute guy this year. I don't see any way around liking Devin Vassell here. actually 1.06 DraftKings points per minute, but a 25% usage rate, 16% assist percentage. He's just going to look really good. The rest of this team is interesting to me, though, in the same way that Portland is. They're not the best options, but only 9% ownership coming into Jakob Poeltl, 10% coming into Johnson, none coming into Charles Bassey at 4,300. Trey Jones getting 6%. Like, all of these are reasonable price tags where, sure, they're not the best option on the slate, but it's a 4-game slate, and these guys all have very legitimate paths to big games. So I like getting here and, just basically hoping for the best.
That's probably about all we got from that side. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard returned. I don't expect we're going to see him for more than 20, 25 minutes most games for the foreseeable future, but he is at least back. You've got Zubac coming in as the most popular option on DK. He, Paul George, and Norman Powell are all right around 11%. If we look over here at FanDuel, you've got Kawhi 28%. That seems a little bit high there. You've got George at 25%, Marcus Morris Sr. at 20, and Zubac at 15. Let's look into that Kawhi Leonard here a little bit. So he's 6,600. Okay, that's probably a realistic price point for him. He's going to have to be super duper efficient. In the games he has played so far this season, 16, 17, 21, 21, 24, he did start 3 of those, but they're clearly managing his minutes. He's playing, in bursts, as they say. So it's probably going to be controlled somewhere between 24 and 26. Does Leonard intrigue you under any circumstances?
The FanDuel price is interesting. I do like that he played 24 and a half minutes last game. That was more than he had played in either of the first 2 games of the season. What I don't like is that it was a relatively competitive game still down the stretch, and they subbed him out with 2 minutes and 43 seconds to go. The rest of their starters stayed in. So it was pretty clear, and they mentioned it on the broadcast too. It was pretty clear that they were not going to play him more than 24, 25 minutes, no matter what. So I don't know if that's the specific limit today, or, maybe they increase it to 26 or something like that. That's certainly possible, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that you have any chance of it just being the game where it's like, oh, he played 25 yesterday, he's playing 31 today. They were pretty strict with the playing time there. So that's sort of my concern. I think it makes him project pretty well at 6,600 if you give him like 25 minutes. But, when you talk about like randomness and volatility in DFS, you assume that players have sort of an upper limit on their production. And when you get guys that are like actually hard capped in terms of playing time, you can only produce so many fantasy points per minute. So it does sort of just restrict that top, outcome. And you obviously still have downside risk because you can just play poorly for 24 minutes and suck. So it's not like you're just like eliminating volatility and he's just going to hit his projection. You're just eliminating the top half. So, or, the top portion. So that's sort of the issue, but at 6,600, I still think he's reasonable. 7,900 on DraftKings, not getting any ownership. I have a hard time getting there just for the reasons I said.
All righty. Anything else from this game?
So last game, Reggie Jackson played a lot and John Wall didn't. They didn't play alongside each other. We had seen previously that Wall and Jackson were playing alongside each other more frequently. I don't know if this is a 1-game thing. I don't know if it's because Kawhi is back and they just don't need to fill those minutes. It's kind of weird to me because like Jackson played well last game, but in general, Reggie Jackson has been absolute garbage this year. So it would be kind of weird if like the long-term plan is just for John Wall to be the backup point guard to Reggie Jackson. But that's how they played it last game, and it makes me not very comfortable in going to John Wall. Jackson played a lot of minutes, but also if they're going with that rotation, it's not good for Jackson either, because it means if they're going to just play Reggie Jackson and John Wall for 48 minutes, sure, you're going to have some games where it's 34 Jackson, 14 Wall, but you're going to get a lot of games where it's 26, 22, 24, 24. Whereas if they're willing to play them alongside each other like they were, you can get 32 for Jackson while Wall also plays his 24 or 25. Makes it a lot easier to feel confident in Jackson's minutes. So from a tournament standpoint, if you want to gamble on a $4,900 Reggie Jackson at 7% ownership, by all means, like you just saw last game that if he's playing well, he can get those minutes. But really, I think discouraging rotation last game, at least between Jackson and Wall.
Yeah, the other thing that really helped him last game, he got to the line 6 times, made all of his foul shots.
He's apparently made 22 straight free throws now. He missed like his first free throw. He like missed one, and he's made all of them since.
The 4 prior games, he did not go to the line.
Yeah, I got third in the big DraftKings tournament, and Reggie Jackson got fouled with like a minute left, made them both to pass me by a half point. At the same time that they were removing a Zubats block and giving it to Jackson, so he just shot up.
Double whammy.
Yeah, wasn't a lot of fun.
That's the DFS NBA version of the strike him out, throw him out, double play, basically.
But that's the slate where if Damian Lillard had just like shot any better, I would have gotten second. So that's why I expect a big Lillard game today.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, guess what? World Cup is around. So you guys can get access to the World Cup soccer package here at Stokastic for the entire tournament, just $24.95. That's a 60% savings off of the weekly price. You get a whole month-long access to all soccer, including the World Cup here. Projections for every game. That includes player projections, ownership projections, showdown projections for the large single game contest. So as we get deeper into the tournament there out of the group stage, you're going to get that for most days. You're also going to get player usage data and, of course, the premium Discord, which is always important to get that. If you're already a Platinum member, you will have full access to this already. You can also tack on double the cost. You can tack on Fantasy Cruncher as well. So that's a lot of fun there. I'm going to drop the link to this in chat, but this is a pretty good deal. You can use the promo code World Cup 2022 to get in on that deal. We also talk about PrizePicks here for a little minute, since they are the sponsor of the show. Yet another way where you can get a free month of Stokastic premium content here. All you got to do is sign up through the link below us here in the YouTube description. Create your account over there at PrizePicks, and they will give us the information that says you came in via the Stokastic link, and we will get you a coupon code to get you 30 free days of premium access to all of our content. You also get a deposit match up to $100 in your first deposit. You put in 50, they'll give you 50. You put in 100, they give you 100. You put in 200, they're going to give you 100, because that is a $100 deposit match. But we do have free projections for them on our site. This is available to everybody because, hey, they are free. Dropping in the links here. We have football, NHL, we've got basketball. You can also go over to our sister site, Odd Shopper, and you can click in the upper left, look for the tools drop down and click on PrizePicks, and it will build out parlays for you. It will build out the best 5 picks. You can sort it, but filter it by sport, or you can take any of the PrizePicks offerings there. We're only doing those projections for the big 3 sports going on right now: NFL, NBA, and NHL. So if you want to utilize the other stuff, you got to do that through some of our regular projections. But they do have college football, college basketball. You've got NHL first half, CS:GO, multiple soccer leagues. You've got PGA, tennis, MMA, F1, and of course World Cup. Look at all that stuff that is available for you. And they just added a new feature that is the 6X or the 6 Flex Mega Flex. We'll work on the labeling of that. But 25 to 1 if you get all 6 correct. That's a fun wrinkle. The thing about PrizePicks, you can either pick a straight parlay where you just get the higher multipliers, or you can pick the flex parlay where if you don't get all of them right, you still get some money back. For example, if you're doing a 5-pick card, you go 4 of 5, you double. If you go 3 of 5, you get 30% of your buy-in, or 40% of your buy-in back. So unlike regular parlays where you just lose everything if you don't get everything correct, you do have the opportunity here to get a little of your funds back if things don't go your way. Looking quickly at a couple things here. Right now, the main games they have up they do have the Atlanta-Toronto game up. I think OG and Anobi is going to be interesting. Let's see if we got some good, spell his name right. Nobi. So they have combinations of scores. Most players will have points, rebounds, and assists, usually points. And then if they're a guard or a forward, they'll have rebounds or assists or fantasy score. They do use for NBA, they use FanDuel scoring. It's 3 points for blocks and steals. On football, it's full PPR, so it's more DraftKings scoring. So they do not have yardage bonuses. So you need to understand their scoring system. And then hockey, a mix of things. So I set up a little Excel formula in my Google sheet so I can bring in our hockey projections and see what the fantasy points are for that. But those are some fun little tricks that you can do there. Other tricks to navigate if you want to look at like everybody from Toronto in the for the Raptors, you could just type in TOR into the search bar and it'll bring up all of the available Toronto options for that sport. So that's a nice way to check things out there. But PrizePicks sponsor the show. A lot of fun over there. They also do, in addition to their Super Flex, they do Flex Fridays, where they usually are offering you a $20 risk-free wager back. And they have 2 Taco Tuesdays, where they give you they call them tacos. They take about 10 or 20% off one of the players. You can put up to $25 across multiple bets using that player prop. And usually they're suppressing it a little bit so you have a chance to get the over. They try to make it close to a free square, not completely close to a free square, but it is a lot of fun. So for those of you that don't have sports wagering in states like Maryland, you can use PrizePicks just for a few days. Then you're going to have sports wagering. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Final thoughts before we let the college football folks take over here.
Seems like a pretty straightforward slate right now. Keep an eye on news with all these teams on a back-to-back. There's a decent chance that you're going to get some unexpected stuff, but yeah, good luck.
All right.
If you're playing MMA today, enjoy sitting at your computer all day.
So, okay, we have a quick hot second here. I think if I was trying to read the rules on that this morning, Adam, if we go over there, it says it's going to lock the prizes or the picks when the fight time officially happens, and they won't unlock it unless somebody is scratched. So the way they have it,
they're saying they set each fight to start 20 minutes after the previous one. They're saying that they're not going to adjust those. Like if like the second fight, if you realize it's going to start at 1:30 instead of 1:20, they're not going to move that start time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless there's like an actual reason to, like if the 2:20 fight gets scratched, then the start times for everything will end up changing probably.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, thanks DraftKings for putting this in a less than succinct way and not the most thought out.
I hate it. I still haven't decided if I'm going to play. My option, like, it's either I'm going to play and just be stuck inside, or I'm going to go outside, but it's 30 degrees and I don't really want to. So,
well, I was going to say it's pretty damn cold out there. I don't know what you're going to be doing. Are you going to the ice skating rink or something today?
Yeah, walk down to one of the bars, but it's still cold and windy, so I don't really want to.
All right. With that, hit the like button on the way out. Everybody, you can follow Adam on Twitter at ShitMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMac DFS. It is, of course, Stokastic _ COM. With that, gamers, good luck.